Hello, my name is Roger Quayle, and you are listening to My Life in the Mosh of Ghosts. Hello there, and welcome back to My Life in the Mosh of Ghosts with me, your host, Roger Quayle, and thank you for joining me. Following the diversion into the world of pop with the Joe Boxers in the last episode, we are now heading off on a completely new tangent with the heavy metal thunder of Iron Maiden. I wouldn't describe myself as a fan, and it's likely I never would have seen them, were it not for one of those happy coincidences that sometimes occur when you are out on the road playing gigs. In the end, it turned out to be a memorable evening, not just for the band, but for the venue, the city, and the passion of their fans. So here we go, Iron Maiden, live at the Glasgow Apollo on the 12th of May 1983. Bring the author to the slaughter.
Look! A white-tailed eagle!
That's never an eagle. Get away.
You're having a laugh.
We've just entered Scottish airspace, flying up the A74 in our Boeing Transit, en route to Glasgow. It's my first time north of the border, and in the Scotland of my imagination, the land of the Lisbon Lions of '67, Billy Connolly, the sensational Alex Harvey Band, and Gregory's Girl awaits. Picturing Claire Grogan frolicking in the wild purple heather, complete with running streams of copper-coloured whiskey, I'd naturally expected the epic skies to be populated by wheeling, screeching birds of prey.
Not an eagle,
Says Charlie Collins, saxophonist, percussionist, horticulturist, and now, apparently, ornithologist.
a buzzard at best. More likely a raven that's perched on wet paint.
Buzz killed. Charlie has unpicked my tartan dreams before we've even trod on Scottish soil. With the box now playing regular gigs around the country, bird spotting has become something of a pastime in the van, whiling away the hours spent on motorways. One of our favourite games is Kestrel. This involves keeping a keen eye on the air above the central reservation and grass embankments along the 6 lanes, hoping to spot Falco tinunculus in classic hover position, scoping out a mouse or newt, and then shouting Kestrel before anyone else.
Kestrel, 1-0.
When we're not twitching, we're bitching, picking over morsels in the music papers, laughing at the absurdities of Spandau Ballet and modern romance. With the Spans at number 1, old Sheffield friends The Human League and Heaven 17 occupy the number 2 and 3 spots on the pop chart. Even Chesterfield schoolteacher Tom Bailey is in the top 10 with the Thompson twins. Not that we'd sully our blossoming reputation as tailors of tumult by chasing the hit parade. We've already paid the deposit and are seeking planning permission for the ivory tower we intend to occupy. Last night's show was the In Vogue Hacienda Club in Manchester, which felt like playing in an empty branch of Habitat, festooned with black and yellow chevrons nicked from Knutsford services. This evening's gig is at Night Moves, presumably named after the Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band album of the same name. I like the idea of this. a no-nonsense blue-collar venue for a no-nonsense Glaswegian crowd. We have a new sound engineer with us, a West Yorkshire lad called Mark, who likes motorbikes and has a pet rat. Once we've loaded in, sweating and cursing our way up 4 flights of stairs to the club, which is perched atop a Chinese restaurant, Biker Mark has some news for us.
I've got us on the guest list for Iron Maiden tonight.
It turns out that in the torch-lit, gaffer-taped world of roadies, techs and lampies, Biker Mark has a mate who is part of Iron Maiden's road crew. For a few minutes, this stumps all of us. Beyond a band-unifying respect for Motorhead and their reductive approach to hard rock, I don't think any of us listen to heavy metal. I know Paul saw Led Zeppelin when he was a kid, but I wouldn't call them heavy metal. Trust Charlie, who has probably seen more gigs than the rest of us put together, to have a story. He saw Def Leppard when they were just leopard cubs, in 1978, at an outdoor gig in Pittsmore when he was playing with the Free Music Group. I'm not sure if any of us have actually ever heard Iron Maiden, but with no other plans before we play much later, we decide that we might learn something. In the way that you might from attending the Royal Institution Christmas lectures, or a night of cockfighting in Manila. Sure, why not? Let's go. It might be a laugh. It's a short walk from Night Moves on Sauchiehall Street, around the corner to the Apollo on Renfield Street. Built in 1927 as Green's Playhouse, with a 4,000-seat cinema and ballroom on top, it's an imposing 6-storey edifice occupying an entire city block. It's approaching its 10th anniversary as the Apollo, and in that reasonably short period of time has established itself as a legendary concert hall in the UK. Status Quo's enduring double live album, a record I know well, was recorded here in 1976. There's a few minutes of awkward shuffling in the foyer while Biker Mark negotiates the guest list with the box office. He returns grinning with 6 sticky passes. We're in. Rock music rules in Sheffield, and has done since the Stringfellow brothers booked Jimi Hendrix to play the Mojo Club in 1967. After all, it's the Steel City, and we welcome metal of all kinds. The heavier, the better. Throughout my teenage years, I witnessed buffalo herds of long-haired lads migrating up Fargate in grey army surplus greatcoats, heading for the City Hall on Barker's Pool for a night of headbanging and air guitar to Thin Lizzy or Rush. The Apollo feels like Sheffield City Hall, but can accommodate an even larger number of dandruffs and Clearasil kids. The band, Biker Mark and myself stand there like Kirk, Spock, Bones and crew, freshly beamed down to Planet Denim and breathing in the new alien atmosphere. They had a flood here last year, and there is a pervading smell of dank carpet mixing with the beery farts and BO of the 95% young male audience. Oh, declined. Everyone is in a good mood. Down-to-earth lads, excited to be present at this gathering of the metal clans. As we often find, Charlie is the only man in the room with a full, luxuriant beard. Tonight, the eager rockers of Glasgow equate beard with drug dealer, and he politely fends off numerous inquiries for hash and speed. Appearing at the Apollo between Johnny Mathis and Kajagoogoo, Iron Maiden are in Glasgow on the 9th night of their latest world tour. Their World Peace jaunt will finish 141 shows after this one in mid-December. By their own punishing standards, this is them easing their pedal off the metal. They played 188 gigs last year. There's a Sheffield connection here. Singer Bruce Dickinson was born in nearby Worksop. After being expelled from Oundle Public School as a young teen, he enrolled at King Edward VII's in Broomhill in 1976. Part of a remarkable 5-year period which saw Phil Oakey and Martin Ware of the Human League, Joe Elliott of Def Leppard, Graham Fellows of Jilted John Shuttleworth fame, and future BBC Radio 1 controller Matthew Bannister all passed through the school. Dickinson has played the Broadfield in Sheffield in forgotten bands, as we all did when we were starting out. The Apollo house lights go down and the theme from Where Eagles Dare swoops through the PA. The stage here is very high indeed. Anyone planning a fan invasion will need rope and crampons. It sits imperiously above the stalls like an Aztec temple. Appropriately enough, as 3,500 Scots scream their approbation, ready to sacrifice themselves to the metal gods. Ron Goodwin's theme reaches its crescendo, and with an almighty wallop on the drums, Iron Maiden are off and running. And boy oh boy, is there a lot of running. Bruce Dickinson sprints around at the kind of speed that would put him on the podium at the AAA Indoor Championships at RAF Cosford. Meanwhile, the bass player has the look of a man charging back to the house to set the video to record Only Fools and Horses. Two lead guitarists join in mortal combat as, way up behind them, on a platform raised high enough to have its own weather system, the hidden drummer lays into a colossal kit. I can't see him, but I bet he has impressively unshorn locks like the rest of his hirsute bandmates. Above them, an enormous lighting rig, the width of the stage descends from the rafters like something from a Spielberg sci-fi blockbuster. Down here in the stalls, and presumably up above us in the balcony, young Glasgow is having a pure dead brilliant time. As opening numbers go, this garish collision of theatrical bombast, thunderous noise and adrenalised athleticism has me grinning from ear to ear. Four smacks on the hi-hat and Iron Maiden storm into the second song. I notice Bruce has an odd way of running with his legs wide apart. This makes him look like a turkey wishbone from the waist down. A turkey wishbone clad in harlequin patterned spandex trousers. Given the amount of climbing he does, up onto the fold-back monitors, waving a flag from the top of the wall-to-wall facade, or clambering up to visit the elevated drummer, Bruce is always ready to leap into action. A likeable collision of Visigoth and Nureyev. Apparently, they have a new album coming out next week, and are going to play a lot of it for us tonight. All these songs are new to us Maiden virgins, and after a while, they all start to blend into one another. The band hammers out a relentless juggernaut assault, and the two guitarists play a lot of twin lead melodies, which remind me of Thin Lizzy. Then imagine a deep purple, where Richie Blackmore has successfully cloned himself, sacked John Lord and his funky Hammond organ, and decreed that they are now only going to play fast songs. On one effort, Bruce Dickinson plays guitar as well, albeit as more of a claymore to conduct the crowd with. Odin only knows what a band with 2 loud electric guitars needs with a third, but I suppose that's heavy metal. The top only exists so you can go over it. There's a nod to Motorhead and punk in the needle-nudging Mach 1 tempo, but with lyrics about the Crimean War and Greek mythology, rather than Thatcher and the Dole. After 40 minutes, we decide to call it a night. We've got our own gig to get ready for. We head over to the Chinese restaurant beneath the club and pick over the evening. For the first 10 minutes, it was one of the most exciting things I have ever seen, with diminishing returns from there on in, as the novelty soon wore off for me. Biker Mark points out that Iron Maiden will be playing that exact same show every night of the tour for the rest of the year. By contrast, we almost never play the same set twice. And I wonder, at what point does it become automatic? The mousetrap played out in denim and leather. It's the intoxicating devotion and fervour of the fans that impresses me the most. These callow lads in their teens or early 20s believe in heavy metal in the same way that little kids believe in Father Christmas. The comradeship, excitement and anticipation is infectious. Like Santa, heavy metal always delivers exactly what you want on the big day. We ask Biker Mark to put Iron Maiden ×5 on the guest list for our gig. Sadly, they don't turn up. They aren't the only ones. In a room that would comfortably accommodate 500 people, we manage to draw about 50. Afterwards, the promoter, who could not have been more accommodating, is apologetic as he hands over our £250 guaranteed appearance fee. David Bowie has just announced big shows in Edinburgh, and apparently that's taken a lot of money out of the local gig market. I almost feel sorry for him. Almost. You have been listening to My Life in the Mosh of Ghosts, with me, your host, Roger Quayle. Thank you to Simon Elliott Kemp for the intro and outro music, and to Rionagh for the artwork. Thanks also to Paul Widger and Charlie Collins. Special thanks, as always, to Nigel Floyd. Join me again next time for another episode from My Life in the Mosh of Ghosts. This is Roger Quayle saying thanks very much, and bye-bye!